Yeah, so now just to go into some specific tips for the essays themselves as you're writing them. First, I would say is look into those shorter essays and try to pull out the most important parts of them to make them concise, because you can still communicate what you're trying to in a succinct way, especially as these admissions officers are reading so many essays. Second, I would say that in those shorter essays, you really want to make sure that your first couple of sentences start with a hook, right? So you want to make sure that you really bring in those audience members, in this case, the admissions officers, and therefore they're going to be interested in the rest of your essays. Additionally, really work to get to that 650 word threshold. You want to use as many words as you can to say what you're trying to say and to use the opportunity to wow those officers.
Right.
Additionally,
And I just want to jump in there. It's not just using those words and getting close to it for the sake of getting close to it, but it's really specifically because if you have 30 or 40 words left over, that means that somewhere in your essay, there's an opportunity to either make a point more effectively or add support for a point that you've made, or explore something more deeply, or add an additional personal characteristic or rationale for why you want to pursue a particular major, or like specific piece of research that you can kind of bring in. So I think there's like it, when you don't get to your word count, it's not just that that looks a little bit worse, which it does, and it does affect almost that like perception from the person who's reading your essay. It's also because like that's a missed opportunity, and you don't want to miss opportunities in the admissions process.
yeah, I think that's a really great point. So, of course, you want to be succinct, but make sure you use the full opportunity to show them who you are. With you, of course, want to consider the writing quality of what you're answering as well. So make sure that you're not only focusing about the ideas you're trying to communicate it, but how you're communicating those ideas. Of course, you've probably heard before, the idea of having a great essay doesn't necessarily mean having a top concept that nobody has ever talked about before, but it's how you tell your story. So definitely consider that as well for the Cornell essays. And lastly, and this definitely goes back as well to the different school specific topics we were talking about before, you really want to show these admissions officers that you are authentically interested in the schools themselves. Those reasons are genuine, as well as the stories that you're telling about yourself, how those genuinely fit into the stories that you could further bring as part of Cornell itself. So that can definitely help you further.